Okay, greetings everyone. I'm Dave Fortson, COO of Regen Network Development, and welcome to another episode of Greenproofing. Very excited to have you all here. I am super honored to have two individuals who are working with Amazonia Emprende, Carolina and Julio Andrés Rozo. They're joining me from the ground in Latin America. They're going to talk about where they are, who they are, what they're working on, but they're doing the hard work of rebuilding our ecosystems tree by tree. So I'm super excited to introduce you to these two wonderful ecological repair experts, and we're going to dig into why does it matter that we plant trees. So with that said, welcome Julio, welcome Carolina. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us where you are right now in the world?
Of course, David. Hola, Carolina. So we are here in Colombia, in one of the six Amazon departments of Colombia, which is called Caquetá. Unfortunately, David, one of the most deforested, degraded ecosystems in Colombia. Therefore, we decided to settle down here to start up Amazon Emprende 6 years ago. And here we are, so working in rescuing seeds from native species in order to support the restoration of the Amazon.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for joining. I really appreciate it. I know it looks like a beautiful day down there. I'm calling in from sunny Santa Barbara, California. It's grateful to be in two beautiful places. So why don't we go ahead and start? So a lot of people talk about planting a tree, right? Everyone loves tree planting, right? And it's I think people just it gives them a warm feeling. But there's more to it than that. And what I'd love for you just to kick us off is, can you describe a little bit more about the significance to the communities and to the ecosystems of what it is to plant a tree? Tell us a little bit more about the meaning for you as professionals in this space, and the meaning for the communities for that single act of to plant trees or many trees, what it does to help transform a relationship to nature and to each other.
Mhm. David, let me pass over that question to Carolina because I want to reinforce the question by saying that what is the importance of planting the right tree in the right place? Because there is a difference between planting a tree and planting the right type of tree in the right place. Caro.
Yes, so basically, um, everyone wants to plant a tree, as you said, David, but most of the time we don't think about to monitor the tree and to plant the right tree. So here in Amazonia Emprende, what we do is that we collect the seeds from the seed-bearing trees that are like huge native trees that we go and look up at the forest in like in cattle areas where people have a small forest, and then we identify some native species tree, and then we collect the seeds. Those seeds then they go to our nurseries, where here we work with the seedings, and after like some years then we plant those trees. What we do with those trees? Well, those trees have genetic diversity because they come from different mother trees, we can call them like that, and those mother trees are going to provide diversity in all the areas that we are planting the trees. So it's not just planting a tree, but a native tree. Why a native tree? Because what happens if here I plant an eucalyptus? Like, it's not going to be a big tree. It's not going to bring birds. It's not going to bring a jaguar. Well, jaguars didn't eat seeds, but like the fauna that the jaguar ate, right? So basically, we have to study what is a right tree and where we're gonna plant that right tree.
Mhm. That's right. That's right. And bottom line, David, is that 3 years ago we noticed by analyzing different nurseries here in the region that most of the trees that they were germinating in the nurseries came from the single mother tree,
Mm.
which is a mistake in ecological terms
Mm.
because at the end of the day, you are planting in one single hectare, sister with brother, sister, siblings,
Yeah,
and
it's like
that,
inbreeding almost. Inbreeding,
Yeah.
or
yeah,
right in
you're
English.
right.
Yeah.
You're right. And that's something which is not correct. Therefore, we decided to start up the Native Seed Center here in Amazonia Emprende to do what Carolina just mentioned before, to identify all the genetic diversity, the species diversity, so that the nurseries here in the territory, but most importantly, that the methodology could be transferred to different parts, not only in Colombia, but also in Latin America. And that's what we are doing since 2022.
Mhm.
Amazing. And so tell me, one of the parts I was really intrigued about, and one of the work that we're doing here at Regen is trying to also figure out how to best integrate the people, right? The communities on the ground that are guardians, active sometimes guardians of our environment. Sometimes this just their home, right? They depend on it for wood, or they depend on it for food, or they are cultivating crops. In your communities, as I understand it, the work that you're doing, part of your work is sending, or is helping pay some of the community members where you're harvesting the seeds, or at least that you have a relationship where the harvest is happening. Could you speak a little bit more about that? If I'm characterizing it correctly, feel free to correct me. But just your relationship and why the community engagement and interactions are an important part of planting a tree.
Yeah, of course. Let me start on. Um, so we have to put it in context, the answer. So we are living in a region where cattle ranching has dominated the productive culture in Caquetá, Putumayo, Guaviare, some of the Amazon regions. Therefore, that linkages or empathy towards the forest has been lost over the last 40 years. In other words, people don't recognize the value that they have in their forests. What does it mean? That they don't know that they have perhaps a seedling mother tree in their backyards, which is very valuable for the restoration process. What we have done in the last 3 years is to approach those communities, indigenous communities, peasants, people living here, in order to teach them to recognize the trees on the one hand, but most importantly, to harvest the seeds, which is at the end of the day a new income opportunity for them, which before didn't exist. Now it's a reality. And as the demand of seeds, because of the demand of projects, carbon, the voluntary carbon market, biodiversity credits, and so on and so forth, will increase. So the supply of seeds will be needed. But before, we need to teach people, we need to help people get an attachment, or how to say it, to get more conscious about the importance of their trees. So this is the process that we are carrying out right now, and with this work, we expect that very soon, in 2 3 years now, people will find more value on the forest that they have than the cow that they have on the pasture. You know.
Yes, I would like to add something, and is that here, like the soil and the ground, the Caquetá soil and ground, is not good for cattle. Even though we have like a cattle culture that has been from decades, is not good for cattle. So taking that into an account, we have the opportunity to show them that here the soil on the ground is better for trees and is better for biodiversity. And it's incredible because here everyone knows that Caquetá is known for the green gold, is like the message, and everyone knows that, but it's not really like permeate in the culture. So this is also an opportunity to like try to permeate that phrase, like the green gold, through our activities.
I love that, the green gold. And yeah, and I think similarly, all of us in the sustainability space at the end of the day are trying to help ecological health be legible, or be appreciated and understood as something deeply valuable in all of our communities. And I'm curious, with your project, you've planted a tree, you've make sure you've harvested for genetic diversity and strength and rigor of that tree. Who are the parties or the customers that are most interested in working with Amazonia Emprende to help invest in those trees and their health? Is it showing up as just like philanthropy or a charitable, or people using it to as part of their corporate goals or institutional goals? Can you tell us a little bit more about your business model that allows you to continue to expand your operations and continue to invest in the planting of native trees in these regions?
Mhm. Yes, we can recognize three types of stakeholders. 2 years ago, it was only philanthropy because they did understand the importance of genetic diversity and so on and so forth, and the opportunities that community may have by rescuing the seeds. But 1 year ago, we have noticed that the standards on the voluntary carbon market are talking about more impact, ecosystem services, and this job that we are doing is kind of valued by them, by enterprises which want to offset carbon emissions through the voluntary carbon market. And the expectation to set up this supply of seeds is there. And after the COP16 in Colombia, in Cali last year, most of the enterprises, the big enterprises in Colombia mainly, have shown a lot of interest in biodiversity rather than on carbon, only carbon, so the balance is there. It's not only the conversation on how much carbon can be captured by the trees, but also how much biodiversity gains can be produced through the restoration models that we are developing. And we are noticing most conversations, people wanted to know about biodiversity gains. Nature positive is one of the other concepts that now are emerging. And I think that the trend is that not only the companies but also the regulators uh, support more impact through diversity of species, but also diversity of genetics. So I think this is a good trend.
Wonderful. Well, as part of the series, it's called green proofing. So a lot of times, I think, as you can appreciate, there are a lot of claims made about ecological impact, right? I think, well-meaning, right? But nature is complex, right? And it's not something that is going to give you the same result every time. So I think we've all found it important, like, how do we monitor the success of our projects? How do we verify the impact of our projects? I'm curious, given that you're on the ground, right? You are literally putting seeds in the soil, caring for them until they're little sprouts, and then, mature enough to be planted and cared for. What does it look like for Amazonia Emprende to monitor the results and to share and to verify the impact of your work? And who cares? I mean, I'm asking this rhetorically, but who is going to care in your community about these results? Why is it important that they see the reality of what it means to have an ambitious tree planting program, how to ensure that the most number of strong trees with genetic diversity survive, and understanding what the impact those trees are having on their communities and the environment? Can you speak a little bit more to that? Verifying the impact, monitoring the results, and who are you sharing that information with?
Mhm.
Yes, perfect. So, as you said, those are like the biggest challenges that we are facing right now, because we're talking about nature. I mean, it's life. So, every day is different, right? So, first, what we do is we try to monitor the mother tree. We do that through the phenology. And right now we're using two methodologies. So, the first one is like we go each tree with binoculars and look up if there is flowers or fruits, and then we register those data, right? The other one that we are trying to develop is doing the phenology with a drone, with a multispectral drone. So it can help us like go through the canopy of the trees and see if it's flowering or in fruit, and registers those data. With those data, we can tell the farmers of the farms to go to that tree, to that specific tree. So go to Algarrobo 35 because the drone says it is on fruit. And then with that alert, they can go and they can collect the fruits or the seeds that then are gonna get up here to the nurseries. It's a challenge because climate change is already here in Caquetá. So we have studies that says that Algarrobo is flowering and is on fruits on November. But in reality is that on November there is no fruits. So then we have to face with those problems and see how we solve them. So basically the solution that we are doing right now is going each month to each tree to see, to study the, yeah, like how they're developing.
Mhm. And that information, so we are on our road to compile all the information, to gather all the data in order to move a step forward, which is to improve uh, evaluation of ecosystem services, not only in ecological terms, but also in economic terms, because at the end of the day, an algarrobo, which is a species maybe jeopardized by deforestation, it is could be more valuable than a guarango, which is not jeopardized. Mm. But that information is not there. So our role is to gather all the information, to work together with data scientists in order to get a economic valuation of the ecosystem service of each of the trees. So that information is not that, but in our scientific agenda, that's one of
We're
the
working on that.
we are one of the objectives. So there are many challenges. You just mentioned the
Yeah.
issue of climate change. Yesterday, we went to our forest with Natalia, and Natalia, who is our forest engineer, noticed that one tree is aborting the flowers. And abortion is quite critical because we are tending to notice that some species are aborting, comprises
Compromise.
compromises
Yeah.
compromises the supply of seeds.
Mm.
So in other words, we need to speed up the rescuing of seeds in the years to come in order to storage them, analyze them, germinate them, and plant them so that we can guarantee the survival of the species.
Wow. That's impressive work. And it doesn't, I'm curious, like the size of your operation today and where you'd like to see it in the next 5 years to 7 years. What do you think is the key to unlock your scale and your growth as an organization to rapidly expand the number of trees that you're planting and the number of hectares that you're I don't know if it's managing is the right word, but at least that you're affecting. Can you share a little bit more about what you see as um, the what must be true in order to scale Amazonia Emprende, and what are some of the obstacles given the nature of today's of the nature markets and being able to support organizations like yours?
Yes, um, we have many challenges, but I will say technology is one of them. The lack of information is one of them. Security, of course, in places like this is another one. So, of course, we have a plan in order to overcome all those challenges. Um, but I will refer again to my previous answer. So the capacity to analyze data, to interpret all the information in order to get to economic valuation of the trees is quite important, because that information will be passed over the voluntary carbon markets, biodiversity markets, and offsetters will value the species in a way different way than. So in other words, not every tree will be meaning the same as every tree, you know. So but nowadays we have only qualitative arguments in order to say that the species are important, but we need to strengthen that argument with data. You
No, I
no,
think that,
I think not.
that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
that's fair.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me, can you describe a day in the life of your team? Right. So I think a lot of people, um, I think we all have like this like very soft view of like, oh, tree planting in the forest, how wonderful, which I'm sure it is. But
Uh-huh.
right, there's a lot of hard work that goes into every single day to make sure that you have the best trees possible that meet the qualifications and criteria to be able to support broader investment, in the credit market or nature market. Carolina, can you describe a little bit more of like what the day of a life for the Amazonia Emprende team looks like, so you can give our viewers an understanding of what real regeneration looks like when it comes to putting your hands on the soil.
Perfect. Yes. So I'm gonna explain how we go and identify, for example, a mother tree. So basically, we go to a farm, and we wake up in the morning, like 6 in the morning. Then we go into the forest. Those are like big areas of cattle. So, and here is very rainy. Like, you don't know how it's going to be the weather. So 3 days are going to be very sunny and very hot, but then they're going to be rain like 24 hours per day, the rain. So then the ground is going to be very like sticky. So we go into the forest with the sticky ground, and then in the forest we try to look up for a tree that is big, that it has good conditions. What means that? That it like, yeah, that is big, that it's gonna be it has a good like altura,
Hi.
a good height. Sorry. And probably that if you see that it has fruits or flowers or leaves, then we go to that tree. Then we register that tree. So we take up measurements from that tree, for example, the diameter, the height. We paint that tree and we register that tree. But also there are the mosquitoes. So that is gonna difficult the work, because you're
Mhm.
trying to register the data, and then you have the mosquito here like zzz, and it's annoying. But
Como
it's hard.
pájaros, muy grande, los moscos. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very annoying. They just want your blood.
Mhm.
So basically, we try to collect data from that tree. So the name of the tree, the we put them like a name, well, a code specifically,
Mm.
and then we register that on a formulary, and we do that along all the forest. We try to register a lot of trees, and then we have to go monthly to monitor those trees.
Mhm.
Basically, for any time we go and do that, those trips, de viajes,
No, missions.
those
Trips.
missions, we go
Yeah.
for a week. So it's 1 week in the forest, all the
Mhm.
week trying to identify trees. Also, the trees are very high. So
Mhm.
there are some trees that are like 50 meters,
Mm.
and we look up with the binoculars and we can't
Uh,
see
and
anything.
that's an issue. That's another technological challenge because the fruits and the seeds are on the canopy, and we have two ways to handle that. Either we climb up the tree to the canopy to get the seeds, which we don't do it because it's quite dangerous, or we are thinking about kind of technology, a kind of drone or robot to climb the trees so that it can get the seeds. No? We need support for that. We need
Yes, absolutely.
to create linkages with the universities in order to come up with those types of ideas. At the end of the day, all the process that Carolina just described costs more or less permission between 1,000 and $1,200 per mission in order to analyze in on average 35 to 50 trees, which
Mhm.
Mhm.
is quite costly. In order to scale up the impact, we need to, for that money, we need to reach at least 1,000 trees. So therefore, we need information, we need technology, we need to be more close to with the community so that we can get also help from them. So we are just starting. We started 2 years ago. We are on the right way, but still there are too many challenges open.
Yes. There's a
Wonderful.
lot of
Thank you. That's super interesting. Caro, go ahead.
Now, I was gonna add that each species is different. So, for example, there are some trees that the flowers are gonna be close to the like to the bark, but there are other ones that is gonna be on the top of the canopy. So you think, okay, yeah, let's use the drone. But if we do the fly through the canopies, you're not gonna see the flowers that are attached to the bark, for example. And then, okay, let's do that if we go through the forest and with the binoculars. But then you look up and you don't see even the canopy of that tree because it is like hiding for other trees. And yeah, so it's crazy everything here in the jungle. But
which
Amazing.
at the end of the day is quite interesting for us, because our daily work, every week we have to we come up with too many different challenges, which makes very funny the way how we work on what we have to do every way. Is everything but not boring.
Yeah,
Our
I'm
job.
sure you have lots of stories. There's, I've spent some time in the Ecuadorian rainforest and for about a month working on medicinal plants, and every day was a new adventure. Something else was happened that you did not expect. So, well, thank you for your work there. So, in closing out, I'd love to hear from each of you, and this is just how I'd like to close things out. This is this industry, right? Sustainability professionals. It can be pretty stressful. There's huge need, right? And sometimes the impact that we make is sometimes hard to. Sometimes it's hard to see. Sometimes it's easy, but it's always like there's so much need that we have for the impact that the work that we're doing. I would love to hear from each of you one thing that you're grateful for right now, as being in this space and being in El Bosque, or doing the work that you're doing in the communities. What are you grateful for to give us a little bit of hope for fellow professionals in the space?
okay, I think that I'm grateful to work with the communities and to try to create together a love for nature. I didn't mention, but when we go through the forest, we go with the communities, with the
That's
owners
cool.
of the land. And that's very nice because also we share a lot. And I mean, they live with nature. So they are the ones that know everything about nature, and we can exchange knowledge. And that is something that I'm grateful for.
And in my case, I'm grateful for my team. So, for instance, Caro, we have Johnny there, who is our drone man, who is
Hi, Johnny.
the guy taking the pictures from the canopy.
You're good.
Johnny's here. No, he's not listening, but he's
it's
there.
okay.
He's working with the photos.
Hi, Johnny. Thanks for your work.
Yeah. Yes, because I'm grateful because I'm not alone. When I started up 6 years ago, it was a dream. Now it's a reality. And this team, Natalia, Julie, Mafe, all the team, we are 17 people. We are all sharing this purpose, and we are making it happen.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much on behalf of the Green Proofing Series. I'm Dave Forson with Regen Network. Thank you, Caro. Thank you. That's just Julio. The stories were wonderful. So I hope all the viewers out there, make sure that you find Amazonia Emprende on the web. And I heard some like, hey, we did more drones, more technology. We can scale this project together. And I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you in the field one day down in Colombia.
Please, you're welcome
All right.
here and everything.
Thank you so much.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.